City get out-rebounded, I was surprised. You did. 36-32. How does Yale out-rebound Baylor?
You go up and grab the ball off the rim when it comes off, and then you grab it with two hands, and you come down with it, and that's considered a rebound. So they got more of those than we did.
Welcome to Beers and Buckets, the podcast for degenerates like us who love basketball and drinking beer. My name is Connor Caldwell, and I'm joined by Dowell Harmon. Dowell, how you doing tonight, my man?
Doing well. Got some news that we have a client that is no longer going to be working with us, which means that I'm in a little bit of a flux position with work right now. But that's not the worst thing. Hopefully something good comes out of it. But excited to talk the team we have tonight. I'm excited about the beer / that's like beer with an asterisk that I'm trying tonight. So all in all, having a good day. What about you?
Can't complain. We have a game tomorrow night, so this is Wednesday recording. So we have a game Thursday night instead of Friday, which is kind of nice because you have Friday night off. So I'm excited for that. I think it's a winnable game. If we win, we'll be the first team in our school history to start the season 2-0. So that's kind of cool. So if we win, so be rooting for us. And we went to a middle school football game tonight, which is not exactly the most fun thing to go to, but the team won. So my wife's team, she's a middle school teacher, 8th grade teacher, and her team won. So I was excited about that because a lot of those kids are going to be coming up to our team next year. So good to see them getting the winning ways. So yeah, it was all things considered a good deal. So I want to let you guys know that we are part of the Basketball Podcast Network, where you can find the latest on your favorite teams and what's happening around the NBA and NCAA. So go check them out on Twitter. They retweet every episode that we put out. So go check out or look up the hashtag TBPN and check them out. They have a lot of good shows on there. So let's do the beer review. Dal, what are you drinking tonight?
Ooh, let me grab it. I have a little mini fridge that I have by my desk at work, where I keep my assortment of sodas that I shouldn't drink. But I have, like I said, a beer with an asterisk. I have a cider tonight. There's a cider company out of Michigan called Blake's Hard Cider that has one of my favorite ciders called El Chavo, which is like a mango habanero cider. Super, super good. And when I was going through the liquor store the other day to prepare for the Kentucky football tailgate over the weekend, I found this cider called Tropicalata that is orange, coconut, and pineapple hard cider. Nice. All three of those things are things that sound very yummy.
Yes.
It is 6.9% alcohol by volume. I think it was like a 3.86, something like that on Untappd. Let's see what we got here. Ooh, that's good. It tastes like if you mix like some pineapple and orange juice. It's kind of like watered down with some Malibu rum, which
not bad.
Is just
sounds pretty good.
Orange pina colada, which is exactly what I said it had in it.
I mean, can't go wrong with that. I love oranges. I like pineapple. I like coconut. So sign me up. I'd have to try that if I could find that around here.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It definitely isn't like super sweet. But there's definitely sweetness there. Like pineapple juice is insanely sweet.
Yeah.
And this definitely isn't like fully that. No, this is good. It's cool too because it has on the back. This is part of their like bar cart series apparently, and it has a couple ways where you could mix it into some cocktails too, which I might have to try this weekend.
Very nice.
No, that's really good.
Sweet.
You wanna do yours before I compare it to a team, or
yeah, that sounds good. I went because our team tonight is based out of Texas, so I went with a Shiner Texas beer. So obviously brewed in Shiner. I went with one that we haven't done on this podcast, so I went with the O'Reilly. Cool can, first of all, I thought. So sold me on that. And even though it's technically a Mexican-style cerveza, this has definitely a Texas feel to it. Like I said, it was brewed at Spoetzel Brewery, Shiner, Texas. So I'm going to give it a try. It's a Mexican-style lager. Like I said, it's 4.5% ABV and 20 IBUs. Untappd has it as 3.61, but there's only a few ratings because this is a new beer. It came out in 2022, so still relatively new. It's beer brewed with agave, so I'm excited for it. Let's give it a try. Passed the crushable test for sure. Very crushable. Not super heavy or not super light. So I wouldn't go chugging a bunch of these. But you could definitely throw back, like maybe like 4 or 5 and be okay. Maybe a little tipsy. Well, I like it. It kind of reminds me of, let's say if Corona and Yingling had a baby and like it was super light, kind of somewhere in between there. So definitely enjoyable. 2 good beers that I like. Yeah. And for my comparison, because of the way it's packaged, it's got the Mexican style packaging and and I don't know if you watched San Diego State this past weekend, but their helmets were absolute fire for college football. Those Aztec calendar ones? Yes. So I'm going to go with San Diego State with the team comparison here because it's relative. I mean, it's not new, but it's kind of a newer thing, kind of young thing, and this is like a new beer. It's packaged really well, and it has some decent hit to it. So I'll compare it to that. What are you comparing your cider to?
I'm going to go Ohio State because Ohio State's basketball team is really good, but not to get back into the basketball school has plagued this offseason. But this is honestly probably my second favorite Blake's Hard Cider that I've tried, but it still isn't the El Chavo that I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And that's how, Ohio State's basketball team is really good, but it just still doesn't compare to the football team. So I'll go Ohio State.
Fair enough. That's a good comparison. Ohio State basketball is good, not quite near the level of Ohio State football, which is fine. Totally fine. So, all right, well, let's move on. We know summer is pretty much done, guys. It's September. I mean, what else can we do now? We're just waiting for the cool weather to start rolling in. Football is back. So with tons of ways to bet on all your favorite sports, you can fuel your fandom like never before with DraftKings Sportsbook. You can throw down on all the major action for baseball, golf, MMA, and more. Obviously, there's college football now. Hey, Sailor's making her podcast debut again.
There we go.
Her weekly appearance on the podcast. But you could throw down on all the major action. And then, guys, tomorrow night, it's Wednesday. When you listen to this, it's going to be Thursday night, and NFL's on. So you can bet on the NFL. You can do all the prop bets. Hold on just 1 second. I'm gonna let Sailor get her barking out. I think somebody came home and that's what's happened. Yeah, that's probably it.
Baylor.
Yeah, she has to make her presence known.
Yeah, of course. You wouldn't know she's there otherwise.
Yeah. She wants to be the star of the show. Actually, it's fun little story for you. We got home from the football game tonight, and she had gotten we had a pizza box from last night on the counter, and she got it off the counter, and I think she tried to take it to her bed because that's what she does when she's being bad. And she took it to her bed and knocked one of the candles off a glass candle off the side table, and she was pissed. Or Morgan was pissed. So she was banished outside. Sailor was, and for a couple hours or so, and it was a rough night. But anyways, back to it. Let's get this ad read over. Last year I think there was a prop bet for will Tom Brady complete a pass or something like that. It was something ridiculous, because the kickoff last year was the Bucks and the Cowboys. So
yeah,
there's silly little prop bets that you can make easy money on. You could do that on DraftKings Sportsbook is what I'm trying to say here. So with same game parlays, spreads, money lines, over unders, and props, your betting options feel endless. So Dowell, is there a bet that you feel good about going into this weekend?
So it's one that you probably cannot get anymore, given news that has come out. But I was on a little bit early on DraftKings on the Wake Forest spread against Vandy. As you all are probably keenly aware, I am a Wake Forest fan as well.
Take a shot. Everybody take a shot.
That's right.
Take a shot when you hear Dowell mentions he's a Wake Forest.
Yep, that's based on your bingo card. It's filled now. But no, Sam Hartman, they're like the starting quarterback that's been there for a couple of years. Ended up having like some kind of like weird blood clot issue, and the like leader in research and fixing it happened to be at Wake Forest. Like he's a doctor at Wake Forest Baptist Medical, so he's back this week, which meant the spread jumped from like -7 to -13. So I got on it whenever it was a lot lower. But I'm going to the game this weekend. Should be super exciting to watch them. So that's the bet that I'm on. Even if it is still -13, I'm all deeks.
Yeah, not gonna lie. I watched Michael Kern play in high school. He played at Lake Nona in Orlando, and I was hoping to see him get some action. For Wake.
He didn't, honestly.
So kind of cool to make that connection there. But anyways, good for Sam Hartman. Good for you getting that inside detail and getting that bet locked down. So yeah. Best of all, DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. You can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. So here's what you got to do. Go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TBPN. Make your first deposit. That's promo code TBPN and only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See the show notes for details. All right. So, hey, it's what you tuned in for. It's the off-season basketball time. We are in the top 5. Obviously, last week we did Auburn. We have, 3 teams left? Let's do this.
Yeah.
All right. During the college basketball offseason, we've been breaking down either by ourselves or with a guest that is knowledgeable about a certain team, the top 25 teams from last season, team by team, and previewing them for the upcoming season. We'll talk about roster movement, staff changes, and other impactful events for each team. This week's team is Baylor Bears.
Woo!
Yeah. Baylor, I hardly know her. Baylor's off season, so let's.
That's what a bear sounds like.
No, probably not the best connection for Baylor considering their history either. Anyways, Baylor last season went 27-7. They were 14-4 in the Big 12. They finished first in the Big 12. They didn't win the Big 12 tournament, however. They finished third in the AP Top 25, and then I think they finished ninth in KenPom. I could be wrong. I had to double check that. But anyways, they were a good basketball team. Overall, it was a weird team though because they lost LJ Cryer pretty early on in the season. He only played 19 games, and so that he was one of their biggest scoring assets for them. And so they had an up and down year offensively, but defensively, this team was as good as it gets. They would hold teams to under 40 points all the time. So now let's talk about the departing players. Obviously, we know James Akinjo went in the draft. This was his 3rd team in 3 years. So he went to Georgetown. Where was he at before? Was he at Arizona after Georgetown and before Baylor?
Yep, Georgetown for 2 years, Arizona for a year, Baylor for a year.
Yeah.
Now he's what? Now he's with the Hawks? Was that summer league?
I think he went undrafted, if I'm not mistaken, and signed a summer league deal with the Hawks. I don't know if that continued on or if he was just on a summer league deal, but either way, he's not at Baylor anymore. Matthew Meyer, I always do that. It's spelled Mayer, but it's Meyer. Yeah, I have to think like John Mayer. No, it's Matthew Meyer. He was kind of disappointing to me. I thought he would be more impactful at Baylor last year. Just never seemed to break into that starting role. Never seemed to go at I definitely had higher hopes for him, especially because he was listed in like the top 15 of returning players for last year. So interesting they could never break out, never even score double digits on the year. Points per game, but he's transferring to Illinois.
He scored double-digit points per game.
Well, yes. I meant averaging.
Yes.
That's what I meant. Yeah, he scored double digits. I meant averaging. But he's transferring to Illinois. And then you have Kendall Brown. He was drafted in 48th pick and then was traded to the Pacers. So he averaged like 9.7 points, so not quite averaging double digits either. Jeremy Sohan, we talked about him. We talked about him in the draft episode. I think he's kind of a steal for the Spurs. Honestly, let's talk a little bit about Sohan. What makes you think that he is the best player? He was the best player of this team last year.
So I don't know if he was the most important player, or maybe even. I guess he probably was the best player, but it's just hard to. I don't know. They have so many guys that are in the 9-point to 14-point range that it's hard to really fully pick who their best player was. It kind of depended on matchups. But he definitely has the most upside in terms of that kind of big wing capability, stopping capability that is really, really big in the NBA right now. You have Kawhi. You have Grant Williams. I guess is a really good example of a guy who wasn't expected to be some all-star, but was a really big part of the defense of the Celtics in the playoffs because he is able to kind of guard those opposing big wings that people have. So that's kind of what you hope Sohan would be. If his shot can ever come around, then he's definitely someone that will outperform his college production in the NBA.
For what it's worth, we talk about if a shot ever comes around, he averaged 9.2 points on the year. Matthew Meyer, I keep on wanting to say Meyer again. Matthew Meyer averaged 9.8, and he was supposed to be kind of a perimeter threat for scoring and things like that. So interesting that there's that comparison there. But yeah, Sohan was good. He got drafted by the Spurs. I thought that was a steal for them. And then the last departing player for Baylor this past season would be Dane Danger, which is all name team. If we want to do that, because if your last name's Danger, you're Australian at that point and you're a danger. But he averaged 2 points, so nothing to really write home about. But he's transferring to Illinois as well, along with Meyer there. So let's talk about the returning players. You know a little bit more about these guys than I do for the most part. I think you watch a little bit more Baylor basketball than me. Tell me about the returning players that we have here.
Yeah, so I think the two big names to touch on. Well, so in my mind, there's three big guys. There's Adam Flagler, there's LJ Cryer, and there's Jonathan Chama Chachua. Cryer and Chama Chachua, who we'll just call JTT from here on out. Cause
Jonathan Taylor Thomas?
Yeah, exactly. Cryer and Chama Chachua were both got hurt throughout the year. So Cryer played 19 games. Then Chama Chachua played around 25 games. But both of them were major parts of the Baylor team. Cryer was a 14-point scorer. And Chama Chachua was around 8 and 7. He's more of a forward. Cryer is more of a guard. So getting those two guys back is almost like adding new pieces just because they didn't play the whole season.
Yeah.
But they're obviously super ingrained in what Scott Drew is trying to do. Then you have Adam Flagler, who was the starting two guard. I almost wanted to make this a trivia question until I realized that you had access to this doc and you could see it. But if I was going to ask you who the leading scorer on this Baylor team was, Flagler would not have even been close to my first guess.
No.
And like we said, there are a bunch of guys. There's what?
I would have said a Kinjo, which would be second place or tied for second there. So yeah.
So but obviously it's good when you return your leading scorer. And with Kendall Brown and Akinjo and Matt Meyer leaving, he obviously should get an even bigger role. So I would expect those points per game numbers to increase. And he averaged 3 assists per game too, which means he's a pretty decent secondary playmaker as well. So
yeah. You're also forgetting. We're forgetting about one guy here, and it's Mo Bamba, but with a fake mustache. And his name's Flo Thamba.
You say a fake mustache, so I picture it Mo Bamba with flowing locks.
That's fine. You can do that too. I just think of
he has some serious flow.
Even though I have a mustache, you do the fake mustache. You say this is not Connor Caldwell. It's Shauner Shaldwell, or something like.
Okay.
It's not Mo Bamba. It's Flo Thamba.
As long as we give him a mullet too, so he can build the
We'll give him a mullet too. But yeah, Flo Thamba. I mean, didn't really. At 6 points, 6 and 5, 6 and 6.
6 and 6. Yeah, I mean he should see a much bigger role. We'll talk obviously about guys that they're bringing in, but they're mainly bringing in guys on the wing and guards. So really do expect him to kind of see a bigger role at the starting five, taking over for Sohan as well.
Yeah. A couple other names to mention. Well, a few more names. Dale Bonner, he was a guard, averaged 3 points. Jordan Turner, Zach Loveday, they were pretty much useless. And then you had a redshirt freshman guard, Langston Love. So I'm sure their roles are going to increase this year. May not be much, but they will definitely or should increase. Should see more minutes. Interesting enough, Baylor, they lose a lot in production, right? They lose only 5 players.
Absolutely.
But they're losing almost four players that are a few, really close to being double-digit scores. Let's just put it at that.
Right.
So, a whole lot of production. But they're getting in, probably the best player in this class. If I had to say right now who's the best player in this class, it'd be Keontae George.
Definitely best as a freshman. He seems like the most ready to come in and contribute right away.
Yeah. And yeah, he has a solid shot, is a good playmaker, good defender, and he can like we talked about the playmaking. He can pass it from pretty much anywhere in the court too. He's really good all around, which is great because that's the kind of player that Baylor needs after losing all this production. Jalen Bridges coming from West Virginia. What do you like about him? I know you're high on Jalen Bridges.
Yeah, I'm surprised as much as Kentucky fans kind of clamored for any and everyone that entered the portal last year. Was surprised we didn't get more people looking to add him. He's got that we have listed here as a wing. He averaged 8.4 points and 4.8 rebounds. But honestly, he kind of functions as his game is more like a guard's game, where he's penetrating off the edge but really brings size to that kind of backcourt frontcourt hybrid role.
Yeah.
He's 6'7", coming from West Virginia, so he's familiar with the Big 12, which I think is helpful as well. I'm really excited to kind of see him take what should be the next step, going to Baylor and kind of replacing that role. Because, like we talked about, Cryer, he's more of a 1 or 2. Flagler's a 2. Keontae George is a 2-3 kind of hybrid. I feel like that Jalen Bridges is firmly that 3 that they kind of need to fill in their hierarchy. So excited to see him work.
Yeah, and then they also have Caleb Lohner coming from BYU. Don't really know a whole lot about him. He averaged 7 and 6. I remember watching a couple BYU games last year, but needless to say, he didn't stand out. But this could be the spot where he needs to just be in a better system for him. So that's why you transfer. That's why you do these things.
I think he has some size too.
Yeah. He's listed as a 2 guard, but he's probably a bigger 2 guard. If Baylor likes either really small guards or really big guards, but nowhere in between, unfortunately for them. Danswan Grimes is a point guard. He's coming from Kilgore Junior College, so he averaged 14 points at the junior college level. That could translate. No doubt. Scoring is scoring. I know the competition level isn't as high, but if you could score, if you could shoot, that'll translate. And then they have a big coming from Australia. I'm going to butcher his name, so if I pronounce it wrong, don't make fun of me. Joshua Ojayanwana. I'm gonna confidently say that, and it's probably wrong. Ojayanwana, but he's a big coming from Australia. His rank is 153. It's hard to find information on him, honestly. A lot of these, just recruiting in general, it's hard to find information on recruits. You never really know unless they're the highly publicized recruits, and even then, there's still a lot of unknowns around them. So, what do you think of the rest of these guys? Do you know much about these guys?
The Danswan Grimes guy, the JUCO guy, I think is one of the interesting pieces that will really kind of. I don't think he's going to be the X factor. I think if anyone on this list is going to be X factor, it'll be Keontae George.
Yeah.
But I do think that he averaged about 4 assists per game in JUCO, which I think is one of the big things that he'll be tasked with contributing. Losing a Kenjo is their main assist guy.
Yeah.
And you can replace him with Flagler, but Flagler's more of a 2. Cryer isn't a huge assist guy. He's more of a scorer. So being able to have that kind of connector there should be really helpful for them. So I'm interested to see there. And then the OG and Wanu, I would say the big that they got from Australia is actually coming from the
Josh.
NBA.
We'll just call him Josh.
Yeah, Josh. He's coming from the like the NBA Academy, like the NBA Abroad Academy thing. That is, I think, a relatively new thing. So just, I mean, that'll be cool to see him get to work. And I mean, if there's anyone that is a good coach to learn from in college, Scott Drew's not a bad choice considering all the guys they put in the league over the last couple of years. So excited to kind of see him grow. It'll be nice to be able to get him kind of up to speed. This is just a blanket statement about bigs in general, but like there are very few bigs that come in as freshmen and are physically like ready to play. So it'll be nice to kind of have him join a team where he isn't needed to produce right away, so that he can kind of develop at his own pace. And
if he happens to excel and go to the draft this upcoming year, you could go ahead and pencil him in for the Raptors because they love those really hard to pronounce last names guys from the NBA Academy from Africa or whatever. So it'll make Raptors fans happy. Yeah. So all right, well, let's move on to the all-time Baylor starting 5.
Well, actually, here, before we do that, just where do you think they're going to finish in the Big 12? Where do you think they're going to start the year? Where do you think they're going to end the year?
Yeah, good idea. We typically do that. I don't know why I forgot it, but where I think they'll finish, I could see them finishing anywhere from 3 to 5 in the Big 12, depending on how well the learning curve goes for some of these younger guys. Well, mainly Keontae George. I think he has a talent that he will win some games that they shouldn't win early. I think he's going to need a little bit of time to get acclimated to the college level, and they'll probably lose a game that they probably shouldn't have lost, or they'll lose a game that they should have lost, and that's that. But I think they go as where Keontae George takes them. So, but yeah, I think anywhere I could see him finishing second, honestly. And there's a scenario that I think Kansas go ahead and pencil in as a number 1 in the Big 12, unfortunately. But but anywhere from honestly 2 to 5 would not surprise me. But I'm safe. I'll play it safe and say 3. I think 3 is a good landing spot for them, right behind Texas Tech and Kansas.
Yeah, I think those 2 plus TCU are kind of the top 4. And then I guess you can throw Texas in there as the 5th, but I think that Baylor, Texas Tech, horns down. I think Baylor, Texas Tech, and Kansas are the 3 kind of main contributors to the title race in the Big 12. I'm really interested to see kind of outside of the Big 12. So starting on November 18th, they played Virginia and either Illinois or UCLA in Las Vegas over that Friday, Sunday. And then on Tuesday, November 29th and Friday, December 2nd. So kind of with a week in between there. But those 2 weeks, that second week they play at Marquette in Milwaukee. And then they play Gonzaga in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which I don't get what that's about. That seems like a very random spot. That's a weird triangle distance away from both of them. Like that's not like meeting in the middle.
Gonzaga fans are rolling in their grave about not being in the kennel, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know. That'll be. I still don't get why that's there, but that kind of like 2 week stretch that they have there at the end of November, beginning of December, will really tell me kind of where they are. That'll be their barometer for where they go into Big 12 play. They also play Arkansas in Waco for the SEC Big 12 Challenge, which will be cool.
That'll be a good game. Be a great game.
Definitely. Should be. But no, I mean, I think they'll probably be. I think they should probably start around the 20-ish mark in the preseason poll.
Yeah.
And depending on how Keontae George and their new pieces fit, they can probably get up to anywhere like in the top 10, depending on kind of where they land. But I think they'll be a top 25 team pretty much all year.
Yeah, I agree. If they do drop out, they won't be out long. The Big 12's tough enough where they would be able to string together a couple of good wins and bump them back in. So, but I don't think they will, honestly. I think they'll start around 21, 22 maybe is what I'm thinking, and then move up. Basically, when the preseason rankings get destroyed because media don't know how to pick preseason rankings, that's what'll happen. Similar to college football.
Doesn't sound like them.
Similar to college football. So let's do the all-time Baylor starting 5 and 6 man. So, all right, I'll let you pick the point guard. Who we have running the point for this all-time starting 5?
All right, so there are a couple guys. Baylor has produced a ton of guards, especially in Scott Drew's tenure. But I feel like that as a tiebreaker, nickname quality comes into this, and we're going to go with Davion Mitchell, whose nickname is Off Night because everyone that plays him has an off night, which is easily one of the best nicknames of anyone.
For sure.
So I think I'm going him. Plus, he was a the major piece on that title team. So let's go. Let's go for one.
Yeah. I'm for my shooting guard here. It's a little not unconventional, but it's not one of the Baylor names that most people would recognize instantly because it's not a Scott Drew Baylor name. But I'm going with Vinnie Johnson just because he had a successful NBA career, but also he was one of the more successful players to come from Baylor prior to Scott Drew joining the program in the early 2000s. So just something different there. And also, I really can't name a better shooting guard that, that's been at Baylor even since Scott Drew's been there, considering his stats, and that's all we really have to go on here. So I'm going Vinnie Johnson here. What do you think?
Yeah, that works. Like I said, there are a bunch of guards that we can go. This is spoiler alert, but this is probably our only kind of non-Scott Drew Baylor player that we will be picking.
Well, to be fair, he's been there forever, though. He's been there since 2003.
For 84 years.
He's loyal to the soil, baby. He's been there since almost 20 years now. Actually, this next season will be 20 years. He started in 2003 after the 2003, 2004 after the whole incident with the shooting or whatever it was. Yeah, it was something weird, but. That's why I'm going with Vinnie Johnson. So it is a spoiler alert. It's the only non-Scott Drew player that we have here, but that covers a big span, so not too surprising. Who do you have as a small forward or wing or 3 here?
Yeah, so I think that he gets kind of a little bit of the short end of the stick in the NBA circles now, just because he feels like he's one of those guys that constantly gets added and is like trade fodder that doesn't actually really matter, but is just kind of salary filler. But Taurean Prince, a little bit earlier on the spectrum compared to some of the other guys that we might end up picking.
Yeah.
But great college career, great NBA career.
All-time quote.
Oh, true.
Yeah, all-time quote. That Providence game in 2015, 2016, that team, that era. How do you let Providence out-rebound Baylor? Well, the rebound is when the ball comes off the cylinder, off the rim, and you grab it, and they did that more times than we did. Or, whatever he says there. It was perfect. Just the sass, the pettiness, and, I couldn't imagine.
It's not Providence, it was Yale.
It was Yale, that's what it was. That's right. Baylor. That's right. Yeah, how does Yale out-rebound Baylor? That's right. But either way, just incredible quote. You're coming off a heartbreaking loss. You know that you're going to the draft after this. Like the guy was all for the pettiness, and I'm here for it. It was just perfect.
Oh, now this is just so good.
Send me the video, and I'm gonna put it at the beginning of our episode tonight, and just have that. Yeah, that'd be perfect. But yeah, that's perfect there at the 3 because he's kind of one of those hybrid 3-4 guys, and that's basically Baylor basketball is those hybrid 3-4 guys that can defend really well, can rebound really well, and are physical on the offensive end as well. So kind of a same energy kind of guy. Just a few years before Taurean Prince was Jonathan Motley, and even though he didn't kick off the Scott Drew era, he kicked off the successful Baylor basketball Scott Drew era. Like those, like that 2012 to 2014 run that he was here. That's where Baylor basketball became what we know it as it is now, and those were the early days of that. And Jonathan Motley was the symbol of it, even in those ugly Adidas uniforms that, like, they were like camo or whatever, but Adidas wanted to do the bright colors so bad. But you think of that Baylor team and you think Jonathan Motley, right? So he is the power forward for our all-time Baylor starting five. And
I'm so sorry to Jonathan Motley and his family that we have to associate him with those god-awful uniforms.
So bad.
It's not his fault.
What other teams were in those Adidas uniforms? There was like Louisville was
CLA
one.
had a really like weird
Yeah.
blue one. There was that A&M? Was A&M still an Adidas school at that point?
I think so. And then was Notre Dame one of them too? Or maybe not.
I hope not. Maybe,
Yeah.
probably.
They were
Louisville had them too.
so
Louisville's
bad.
actually were like the best of them just because it's really, really hard to mess up black and red as a color scheme.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
we were
still.
talking about this the other day in the group chat, and Matt Sack of Courtside Connect said he loved those as a kid. Speaking of uniforms, I mean, we can't go any longer. I got to get your thoughts on the new Kentucky uniforms. What do you think?
Let's finish the starting.
Fair enough. We'll finish it last call.
We can make that one of our last calls.
Okay.
What position are we on?
Center.
Center. Okay. This is kind of a close to home, and not close to my home, but just like a heartwarming story kind of thing. Let's go with Isaiah Austin here, though. He had that like kind of rare health thing that kept him from getting drafted, and they made him an honorary draft pick. But in his years at Baylor, he was really, really good. One of those just like crazy long paint defenders that they had that was really fun. He just seems like a super sweet kid too. Handled that entire situation with a ton of grace. So let's go Isaiah Austin as our starting center.
Yeah, I like it. And then to wrap things up with our sixth man, kind of a precursor to Taurean Prince, Jonathan Motley. Before those two at Baylor, there was Quincy Acey, who had a successful NBA career as well. Just all around like solid player, consistent. That's what you want. Perfect six man because he can kind of fit anywhere from like in a Baylor offense, he can fit anywhere from the shooting guard to the center. If we're being honest, but he kind of that hybrid role there. So we'll go with Quincy Acey to wrap things up there. So all right, well it's last call time. So we already teased it with the uniforms. Kentucky launched those new uniforms. I want to know your thoughts now that we texted a little bit about them in the group chat, but I didn't hear your thoughts directly. What do you think?
So I think the major takeaway that I have is kind of even irrelevant to the uniforms themselves. And it's just, I'm so glad that people can no longer complain about the checkerboards. I'm just glad that is, I know that it will still be brought up because that's kind of what will happen. But yeah. I'm glad that it's not something that can be focused on now. The uniforms are cool. They kept them fairly simple. The satin accents are sweet. I don't get the asymmetry with the stripe just down one side. It's, I guess, better that it goes from jersey to shorts. Just seems kind of strange to not have it be mirrored. I also Design 101 says that you don't mix serif fonts with sans serif fonts.
Yeah.
And Kentucky's, the lettering font that says Kentucky is a serif font.
Yeah.
And they went with a sans serif font for the numbers. And I will never understand why
they're breaking all the rules, baby. The asymmetry, the font not matching. I love it. I actually thought I would hate it at first, but when I saw it, especially the stripe, I really like the idea of the stripe. Yeah, I like the idea of the stripe on one side, the logo on the other. People are going to complain about it. But you know what? I think I hated the most about the checkerboard uniforms? It's not the checkerboard. It's just how loud they were with the checkerboards being so wide on both sides and it going down on both sides. So I think these stripes are wider. They're just as wide as the checkerboard was, but it's only on one side. So it's not going to be as obnoxious, I think. That's part of it. as far as the fonts, yeah, I mean, like
the font's bad, man.
Yeah, the font's
font
not
bad.
good. But I like the old school, the arch of the Kentucky on it. That's what we needed. That's what we were all clamoring for, and we got it. So I'll take what we get. I'm sure, as long as we're not locked in for 7 years on these uniforms, I'll be okay. You know what I mean? Like if it's anything under 7 years, they'll be able to fix them. And that was my biggest gripe. It wasn't the actual checkerboard itself. It was the fact that we didn't get anything new for 7 years. That was annoying. So, by the way, I did find the picture, and it's hard to tell, but there it is. Ooh. And it looks like the Cincinnati was the far team there, and it was black and red, so kind of hard to mess up, like you said. But then there's Kansas, Notre Dame, Baylor, UCLA, and Louisville, and those shorts were just the worst thing ever. It just screams not early good. 2010s. It's, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the rich white kids who wore like Under Armour everything to school, and you know, like they were tryhards at basketball and they weren't that good. Just imagine Matt Sack if he was like 12. Like that's what I'm thinking of. Love you, Matt. I love you, Matt. No, I'm just messing.
I beat him in beer pong this weekend at the tailgate, and I've never felt more young. Being a college kid in beer pong, I was on top of the world.
Now, to be fair, Sack did say that he was well intoxicated by the time that Dowell showed up. So
should make him better.
Yeah, maybe.
That is not an excuse. That's an excuse for a lot of activities that you could do. Beer pong is not an excuse where, I was more drunk than the other person. That is not an excuse for beer pong.
All right, but legitimately, my last call for the evening is let people enjoy what they want to enjoy. If they want to get hyped for a football season, great. If they want to get hyped for a basketball season, great. If they want to get hyped for a show that they know, quote unquote, is bad, but they enjoy it, let them do that. She-Hulk is fun. Let people enjoy it. Don't let them crap on it. My thing is, I'm watching She-Hulk not because I want a quality, cinematic entertainment experience. I'm watching it because it's funny. It connects to the Marvel universe even more,
and it is quality. It's just
it's not Martin Scorsese quality,
right.
And that's the biggest connection there because he crapped on the Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff. But
people also need to quit asking, like, the pinnacle of artists and directors what they think about the MCU.
I'm not going to Gordon Ramsay for his opinion on my cookout cheeseburger. You know what I mean? Like it's a cheeseburger at the cookout. You know what exactly you're getting. But
hey, that cheeseburger is good as hell too.
Yeah, but like here's the thing. The comparison I hate the most when they're comparing to She-Hulk is what they show, like the twerking scene, the post-credit scene. Hey, it's a freaking post-credit scene. Like it's not supposed to be like driving the plot of the story, and it wasn't even planned. It was like a last-minute thing because the actress is a huge Megan Thee Stallion fan. So,
and she didn't actually get to be in a scene with Megan Thee Stallion.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the biggest thing. And then but if you're going to complain about that, then you have to complain about Zemo dancing. You have to complain about Captain America admiring his ass and Avengers Endgames. Like you have to compare like so many things that were actually in the main parts. Like if you're going to complain about this post-credit scene, like that's the dumbest thing ever. But rant over. Let people enjoy things that they want to enjoy. House of the Dragon is freaking awesome. I love it so much. Yeah, you go. Your turn. Last call.
How much do you know about what is coming up at House of the Dragon?
I know a decent amount because I went back and rewatched Game of Thrones last year. So
Game of Thrones doesn't tell you much.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
They do not.
They do enough for you to know, especially when Arya is serving and she's pretending to be the boy for Tywin Lannister, and she's like, even though Tywin knows that she's a girl, he doesn't know that she's a Stark. And so she talks in detail about it. And then what's her name? Baratheon's daughter is talking to, I can't remember his name right now, but when she's like imprisoned, like in the tower, she's talking about that too. And so I did my research off of that. That's not all I know. I just know a lot from that.
There's just a lot more coming.
I'm sure. There's a whole show based off it, so I'm sure there's more coming. But this past week's episode was very fun. Like, yes, good lord, super fun.
I think I'll just kind of piggyback on that and say, you also like don't have to share the same opinions with people. Like just because someone else doesn't like the thing that you like, one doesn't mean that you have to convince them to like it, because it shouldn't take away from your enjoyment of it at all.
Yeah.
But also, if you don't like something that someone else likes, don't be negative about it just to be negative about it. Like you don't have to agree with everyone on opinions on like people's tastes. So just like you said, enjoy what you want to enjoy. Let other people enjoy what they want to enjoy. I feel the same way about pineapple and pizza in this sense.
Yeah.
If you don't like pineapple on pizza, who cares? Don't eat it, but you don't have to eat it. But if people do like it, let them enjoy it.
Unless it's morals. Unless it breaks morals and, like, actual laws. Let people enjoy what they want to enjoy.
Really dumb, trivial stuff.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. Like sports and entertainment and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there you go. You know what also is entertaining? TikTok and Instagram, where you guys can follow us at Beers and Buckets Pod, and then YouTube. I mean, we're on YouTube.
I was going to say, have you ever heard of this platform called the YouTubes?
Yeah. Well, we're on YouTube, and if you're watching this on YouTube, we probably don't need to advertise to you. But if you're watching this on YouTube, go to Spotify or Apple Podcast for us, hit the play, scrub the little scroll bar all the way, and then play out the episode. Even
well,
though
you can just actually watch.
it.
You can actually watch too if you want.
Yeah, I mean, you can actually listen.
I guess at this point, if you're here, then you probably have watched all the way through. I don't know. Regardless, go back and do that again. Hit the little like button down there. I hate when people say smash the like button. You don't have to smash the like button. You can just click it.
Gently click it. Gently click it.
You don't have to smash
it. Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get why that has become a thing.
Yeah.
But
we want you to enjoy your time on YouTube. You don't have to smash anything. Unless you're super into the Hulk.
Yeah, true. I've done this in the past, and I feel like I actually didn't really do it this time. But in the past, I've done something that very clearly requires you to have like the video, which I have done in the past when we didn't have video, which was dumb. But I need to start bringing that back just so that we can have something for the people on YouTube to like actually be able to see it. That's like, oh, you need to go watch the YouTube thing to really get the full experience.
Yeah,
that's a Mitch Hedberg reference also.
Yeah, a little bit. But like, rate, leave a review, share this episode, and then go check out the Basketball Podcast Network on Twitter for more shows like this one.
Yes, sir.
And don't forget to sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook using promo code TBPN. And that's all we got. That's all we got for you tonight. Fun story, just a little side note. This is our second time recording this episode because we had technical difficulties last night. So you're getting the new and improved Beers and Buckets episode on Baylor Bears 2.0. And if you made it this far, then you would probably understand why we were so good at doing it this time around. So
we can call this episode the Baylor Beers.
Baylor Beers.
Boom.
Catchy title solved. Yeah, there we go. Catchy title solved. Dowell did it. You did it, big guy. You did it, big guy. All right, that is the bottom line because Connor said so. This has been Entertainment Tips, Beers and Buckets with Connor and Dowell. And you guys have a great week. Go follow Dowell on Twitter at do_well_Harmon. Go follow me on Twitter at Connor J. Caldwell. And have a great week, guys.
Peace, homies.